The fire remains one of the most important events in the history of London, symbolizing both the fragility of human settlements and the capacity for recovery and renewal in the face of disaster. Welcome to Historical Moments, where we take you on a journey through time. Our channel is dedicated to bringing you fascinating stories, pivotal events, and unforgettable moments that have shaped our world. Whether it's a significant battle, a game-changing discovery, or a moment of triumph, we uncover the history that defines us. Subscribe and join us as we explore the past, one moment at a time. The Great Fire of London, which occurred from September 2nd to September 6th, 1666, is one of the most significant events in the history of the English capital. It remains ingrained in the collective memory of Londoners and the wider world, symbolizing both destruction and rebirth. The fire destroyed much of the city and had far-reaching consequences, but it also paved the way for the modern city that emerged afterward. In this comprehensive exploration, we will look at the origins, causes, events, aftermath, and legacy of the Great Fire of London. Through the study of this catastrophe, we will gain insight not only into the disaster itself, but also into the social, cultural, and political context of 17th century England. In the early 17th century, London was a bustling, densely populated city. By the 1660s, the city had experienced considerable growth, both in population and in its importance as a commercial center. However, the city's architecture had remained relatively unchanged since medieval times, consisting mainly of timber buildings packed closely together. Many of these structures were built with highly flammable materials, such as wood and thatch, making them particularly vulnerable to fire. London's old city was characterized by narrow, winding streets, often crowded with people, animals, and goods. This urban design, though characteristic of medieval towns, created a perfect storm for a disaster waiting to happen. Fires were not uncommon in London, given the city's medieval architecture and the widespread use of open flames for heating and cooking. However, few fires had the scale and destructiveness of the Great Fire. The immediate cause of the fire is generally believed to be the ignition of a small flame in a bakery on Pudding Lane. On the evening of September 2nd, 1666, a fire broke out in the bakery owned by Thomas Fariner. The bakery, like many buildings in the city, had a thatched roof, and the fire quickly spread to the rest of the building. Fariner's bakery was located in a densely built area of the city, which made it difficult to contain the fire once it had started. The fire spread rapidly, fueled by the dry conditions, timber houses, and narrow streets that channeled the flames. Once the fire started, it was difficult to control. The high winds of September 1666 carried burning embers across the city, spreading the flames to nearby buildings. As the fire spread, it quickly engulfed Pudding Lane and began to spread along the streets surrounding it. The city's firefighting capabilities were woefully inadequate. In the 17th century, firefighting methods were rudimentary at best, with few fire engines, hoses, or organized fire brigades. People relied primarily on manual labor and basic tools such as buckets of water, ladders, and axes to fight fires. At the time, the main firefighting method involved creating fire breaks by pulling down buildings in the path of the flames. This method, although effective in theory, was not always successful. In the case of the Great Fire, the city's buildings were so densely packed that fire breaks were not always possible. Furthermore, the limited communication systems of the time meant that many people were unaware of the scale of the fire until it was too late. The fire rapidly consumed the wooden buildings in its path. It spread along streets, crossing rivers, and eventually reached the heart of the city, including iconic locations such as St. Paul's Cathedral. Many buildings were completely destroyed, and the fire left behind a path of destruction. The fire ravaged important commercial areas, including the Royal Exchange, a key center for trade, and the houses of wealthy citizens. By the time the fire had burned itself out, it had destroyed a large portion of London. Estimates suggest that around 4/5 of the city was destroyed, including over 87 parish churches, 13,200 houses, numerous buildings and businesses, and countless landmarks of cultural and historical significance. A huge swath of the old city was completely annihilated, leading to the loss of homes, livelihoods, and an untold number of precious artifacts, books, and documents. Despite the immense scale of destruction, the death toll from the fire itself was surprisingly low. Official records suggest that only 6 people were known to have died in the fire, though it is widely believed that the actual number was higher. Many people were able to escape the flames by fleeing to open spaces, such as fields and the banks of the River Thames. The immediate cause of the fire was the ignition of a small flame in Farriner's bakery, but the spread and devastation of the fire were largely due to the urban environment of London and its vulnerability to fires. Several factors contributed to the fire's rapid spread, beginning with the urban environment. London was overcrowded, with narrow streets and wooden buildings, which made it easier for the fire to spread. Flammable materials such as timber, tar, and thatch further contributed to the fire's intensity. The summer of 1666 had been particularly dry, making the city's buildings and streets highly susceptible to catching fire. The drought conditions made it difficult to put out the flames once they began spreading. High winds played a crucial role in spreading the fire. As the fire raged, strong winds carried burning embers and sparks to nearby buildings, causing new fires to start in locations far from the original source. London in the 17th century lacked modern firefighting infrastructure. There were no fire engines with hoses or organized fire brigades, and few reliable sources of water. The limited firefighting tools available, such as buckets of water and ladders, were ineffective against the magnitude of the fire. There was no efficient system in place for communicating the scale of the fire or coordinating firefighting efforts. This meant that local authorities were slow to respond to the growing disaster. Once the fire had died down, the full extent of the destruction became clear. London's commercial and residential areas were almost entirely decimated. The city faced an immediate crisis. Tens of thousands of people were left homeless, businesses were destroyed, and the city's economy was in ruins. Despite the devastation, the aftermath of the Great Fire also brought about a remarkable transformation in the city. The rebuilding process, overseen by Sir Christopher Wren, saw the creation of wider streets, more substantial brick and stone buildings, and new fire regulations. After the fire, strict building codes were introduced to prevent future fires from spreading so easily. The use of timber for construction was heavily restricted, and brick and stone were encouraged. The rebuilding process also included the creation of fire breaks, wider streets, and improved firefighting equipment. London's economy gradually recovered from the fire. Trade resumed, and new businesses were established as the city began its process of rebuilding. The destruction of old, dilapidated buildings created new opportunities for real estate development, sparking a construction boom. The fire had a profound effect on London's social fabric. Thousands of people were left homeless, but Londoners came together to help those affected by the disaster. Many charitable organizations were founded to aid those in need, and a spirit of solidarity emerged in the aftermath of the tragedy. The Great Fire of London left a lasting legacy, influencing the city's physical landscape and its approach to urban planning, public safety, and fire prevention. The fire demonstrated the need for modern urban planning and fire regulations, leading to significant changes in building practices and city infrastructure. Some of the key lessons learned from the fire include: the fire highlighted the dangers of building with flammable materials and the importance of fire-resistant construction. The rebuilding of London introduced new building codes designed to reduce the risk of future fires. The narrow streets and overcrowded nature of London made the city vulnerable to widespread destruction in the event of a fire. The Great Fire led to the development of more spacious and well-planned streets, which allowed for better fire control and overall urban resilience. The fire demonstrated the need for more effective firefighting equipment and an organized fire service. In the years following the fire, firefighting efforts were improved and fire brigades were established. Despite the scale of the devastation, London showed remarkable resilience in its recovery. The city rebuilt itself and emerged stronger, with modern infrastructure and improved safety measures in place. The fire also created opportunities for innovation and urban development, contributing to the growth of London as a global city. In conclusion, the Great Fire of London was a catastrophic event that caused widespread destruction, but also catalyzed significant changes in the city's urban planning, architecture, and public safety. The fire remains one of the most important events in the history of London, symbolizing both the fragility of human settlements and the capacity for recovery and renewal in the face of disaster. Thank you for watching Historical Moments. We hope you enjoyed this trip through history. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories from the past. Until next time, keep exploring the moments that changed history.